Guyana in the Caribbean. Lush and mysterious rainforests, white and sunny island beaches, right? But how much do we really know about the history and culture of this region? Join us and together we'll go on a voyage of discovery.
Going backtrack. Guyanese Exodus, the notorious backtrack story. The shady operation known as the backtrack gave many Guyanese the only way out from under a brutal dictatorship. The backtrack offered the only way to a better life for many Guyanese people during the period beginning in the 1970s and well into the 1990s. Do you remember those days? Hi there and welcome once again to the Aaron Darcy Project. Here is where we look back at some of the people, places and events that have shaped the history and culture of Guyanese and Caribbean people. I am your host Ryan, and today we'll take a look at the perilous backtrack that many people used back in the days to escape the poverty, crime and suffering that existed in Guyana during those times. Join me as we look back at this situation that still affects the lives of Guyanese in the 21st century. Many Guyanese, especially those of East Indian descent, had suffered terribly under the dictatorship of the party in power during the 70s to the early 90s. They wanted desperately to get out from under that situation and into any place that offered the chance of a better life. Those people wanted so much to seek better lives elsewhere that they risked almost everything of value just to explore this possibility. In Guyana, at one time you could walk through villages where empty houses stood desolate for decades, their owners having abandoned them in desperate pursuit of a better way of life, through the backtrack. I'm sure you'll agree that the story of the backtrack, like blackout and the black market, has become an undeniable part of Guyanese history. Any mention in those days about the backtrack was spoken in whispers and guarded tones. There was an air of mystery and some danger in even knowing what it was, and especially who was doing it. Negotiations were conducted behind closed doors and in secret rooms inside of rum shops. Parties met on isolated roads and fields to discuss terms, and always these negotiations were arranged through several layers of persons. These security measures ensured that all parties involved remained anonymous until the very last moment, just before the intending migrants were picked up in the hours of darkness. Some of the operators involved in the business became folk heroes as stories of successful migration reached those in Guyana. Guyanese were forced to pay huge sums of hard-earned cash, but some were lucky enough to have their adventures financed by relatives abroad. However, many had to sell off their property, including farmlands, equipment and even personal jewelry, to pay the people who managed the backtrack. But there were some who were scammed and lost their hard-earned money to unscrupulous people pretending to help them. But why did Guyanese use the backtrack? And has this operation ended? This intricate network of shadowy characters, clandestine meetings, and twisting pathways facilitated the illegal movement of people from Guyana, mainly to the United States and Canada. It was driven by a complex interplay of economic disparities, socio-political unrest, and the enduring allure of the so-called American dream. Let's dive deeper into the multifaceted phenomenon of the backtrack. Guyana's history is etched with the memory of colonialism, slavery, and indentured servitude, creating a complex social fabric and a legacy of economic and political instability. The country's post-colonial era was marked by ethnic tensions, a harsh authoritarian rule, crime sprees, and economic challenges. High unemployment rates and limited opportunities hindered upward mobility for many back in the 70s. These factors contributed to a persistent desire among many Guyanese to seek a better life elsewhere, with the United States often seen as a beacon of hope and prosperity. At one time, legal migration from Guyana to the US, Canada, the UK, and other countries used to be easy. But as immigration policies tightened in the latter half of the 20th century, legal pathways became increasingly narrow and difficult to navigate. This created a fertile ground for innovativeness, and so the backtrack became a viable option for those determined to reach greener pastures. The backtrack was not a single or a fixed route, but rather a fluid network that shifted and changed in response to changing circumstances and enforcement efforts. Going through the backtrack typically involved a multi-stage journey, often commencing with a flight to a neighboring country like Brazil, Trinidad, or Venezuela. What followed was an overland journey through remote and often treacherous terrain. Smugglers, known as agents or guides, played a crucial role in facilitating this movement, arranging transportation, providing temporary shelter, and navigating border crossings. The journey itself was fraught with peril. Migrants often faced exposure to harsh weather conditions. They were also vulnerable to exploitation, robbery, and violence at the hands of smugglers or corrupt officials. Many women, especially, suffered having to offer sexual favors in exchange for a safe journey. The psychological toll was significant, with the constant fear of detection and the uncertainty of the future weighing heavily on those who undertook this journey. Many were caught and sent back to Guyana. The decision to embark on the backtrack was not taken lightly. It represented a last resort, a desperate gamble to escape the perceived limitations of life in Guyana. Economic hardship was a primary driver. Those seeking to escape political persecution and to seek better job opportunities and improved living standards used the backtrack hoping to find salvation in the US. For many, the backtrack provided an escape from crime and violence, while others were drawn by the promise of greater freedom and opportunities for personal growth. The experiences of those who undertook the backtrack are as varied as the individuals themselves. Today, in the 21st century, when you speak with some of those that made this journey 30, 40, or 50 years ago, you will hear tales of resilience and resourcefulness. Strength, faith, and determination was definitely required to overcome the obstacles they encountered. Even when they finally reached a city like New York or Chicago, they had to hide in a strange land and to overcome countless fears and uncertainties. After many years of hardship, they had to seek and finally find one path or the other to a permanent solution. Many still carry the emotional scars of separation from loved ones and the uncertainty of their legal status in the USA. The backtrack stood as a powerful symbol of the human desire for a better life, even in the face of extraordinary challenges and risks. This clandestine route, born out of economic hardship, socio-political unrest, and the allure of the American dream, facilitated the movement of countless Guyanese and individuals from many other Caribbean countries to the United States and Canada too. The backtrack in those days offered a glimmer of hope for many seeking to escape the limitations of their circumstances. Today, many in the USA and Canada can look back on those days of an adventurous journey and perhaps smile at the memory. Was it worth the effort? Many of those who shared their stories with us have responded emphatically with, "Hell yes! It sure was." While there are some who express painful regret, most migrants have flourished and prospered over the years and decades in their new country, and many of them have become staunch contributors to the social structures of their communities. In retrospect, you will find that the days of the backtrack will for most remain a treasury of bittersweet memories. What do you think? We hope that you have enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to sharing much more with you. Our sincere thanks for spending some of your time with us. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us how you feel about our videos and the stories in them. We really value your contributions, as these help us to create better content. Do join us on the next episode of The Aaron Darcy Project. Goodbye for now.